I hopped on social media today and I immediately saw that Rockstar Games was trending. And usually that typically means there's some sort of news surrounding Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto 6, or in this case, their parent company, Take-Two Interactive. And usually when we reference Take-Two Interactive, it's because we typically hear from them around their earnings calls that happen 4 times a year, or there's been a statement made from some of the executives and CEO like Strauss Zelnick. But in this case, it's actually some really bad news. And upon looking up Rockstar Games, you got some awful headlines. Grand Theft Auto 6 publisher cancels $140 million in new projects and lays off hundreds. Take-Two announces layoffs while canceling multiple in-development projects. GTA 6 publisher Take-Two to lay off 5% of its workforce and cancel games. GTA 6 and BioShock publisher Take-Two to lay off hundreds and cut projects. And so obviously just reading those headlines, that's not great news. But let's dive into what this actually means. So again, Take-Two Interactive, the publisher and parent company of Rockstar Games and GTA 6, announced massive cuts in an SEC filing at the end of yesterday's business. And the company revealed it will lay off 5% of its roughly 11,000 strong workforce and has canceled several in-development projects valued at $140 million in an effort at rationalizing its pipeline. In the filing, they go on to say the company estimates that it will incur approximately $160 million to $200 million in total charges in connection with the plan. The company expects $40 million to $60 million of the total charges to result in future cash expenditures. The total charge consists of approximately $120 million to $140 million related to title cancellations and approximately $25 million to $35 million associated with employee severances and employee-related costs, and approximately $15 million to $25 million related to office space reductions. So immediately when you see that, you're like, oh my God, in-development projects canceled. Does that mean GTA 6 is canceled? The answer to that is no. Grand Theft Auto 6 obviously is not canceled, but it looks like some of their more in-development projects are. Now, we don't know what those might be. Those might be completely unannounced titles, but it's not GTA 6. We know that because it is still currently announced and set to arrive, or at least slated to arrive, in 2025. But Rockstar and Take-Two Interactive have decided they're going to be canceling up to $140 million in projects, and you saw some of the other things that are going on there with relationship to employee salaries and office spaces, etc. So at the end of the day, this is really just not great news, and even though this isn't a cancellation of Grand Theft Auto 6, it doesn't mean there won't be any impacts here. We don't know if this will lead to a delay or if this will lead to the game coming out months after it was originally scheduled. These are just all things we don't know that happen behind closed doors at Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar's parent company. And what's strange about this is this comes less than a month after Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick told IGN in an interview that the company has no current plans to lay off any more employees following a cost reduction program teased in a March investor call. Remember, when asked about that, he said, "We haven't put any meat on the bones of that yet. I would just note that our biggest line item of expense is actually marketing. We do think we can optimize that. We also have third-party expenses, software, other vendors, supply services, and we always find opportunity there. The hardest thing to do is lay off colleagues, and we have no current plans." So in just a month's time, that is a complete 180, and honestly, you just feel bad for the people that were let off here. It is a rough time in the video game industry right now, with layoffs and cuts and people losing their jobs left and right. It really is a tough industry to be in right now. So just to quickly recap, about 5% of Take-Two Interactive's workforce, which will include some Rockstar Games employees, is going to be laid off, and some of their games will be canceled. The move is set to save around $165 million a year, and while that move has already been approved by its board, it also calls for the company to find more efficiencies across the business in order to boost profit margins. And we know that in 2025, Grand Theft Auto 6 will arrive, which is expected to bring in billions of dollars in revenue for the company. As we know, GTA 5 sold $1 billion in units in just a matter of days. days. So really, where does things leave us right now? I guess we just have to wait for Take-Two Interactive to respond to this. And luckily for them, and I guess for us, we don't have to wait long. We know that they are going to have one of their earnings calls where they go over their full 2024 fiscal year results. Hopefully on then they clear up some of this negative news, and they also give us some details surrounding Grand Theft Auto 6 and hopefully reassuring us that the game is not going to receive a delay and is still on schedule for 2025, and possibly even giving us some details on when we might be able to pre-order the game, when the title might actually be releasing, and so on.
Now, if you have been following gaming news over the past year, you would know that there have been so many layoffs in the industry, and it came out this week that Rockstar Games, the developer, of course, of GTA 6, is laying off about 5% of their workforce. Now, the 5% is actually not coming from Rockstar Games directly, but instead their parent company, Take-Two Interactive. Now, Take-Two Interactive is a massive game publisher. They have a huge mobile division as well. They make a lot of sports games, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware about. This is all one big company, and while Rockstar Games kind of operates as its own entity, from a legal standpoint and from a corporate governance standpoint, they are all one big company. So while 5% of the employees are being laid off, not all 5% are coming from Rockstar. Now, we don't know how many employees are being laid off from Rockstar, but we do know that the total amount of employees being laid off is about 580, which is still quite a bit. Now, this layoff is going to be impacting some games at Take-Two Interactive, and based on what we know so far, it seems like that the majority of the games are going to be in the mobile division. As I mentioned earlier, Rockstar Games specifically doesn't really have a mobile division, but Take-Two Interactive does, and mobile gaming kind of went through a big boom cycle a couple of years ago, but over the past few months and even over the past year or so, I'd argue that mobile gaming hasn't really taken off. A lot of game developers and publishers invested a lot of money into it when it was taking off a couple years ago, including Take-Two Interactive, but now the realization is coming into fruition, so the majority of the layoffs seem to be impacting the mobile gaming division. In February of this year, Take-Two Interactive claimed that it had dozens of upcoming titles, and of these games, 17 were quote-unquote immersive core experiences. In other words, that means these are the AAA titles and the best of the best, which of course GTA 6 is certainly included in. In addition, they did say that they have 4 upcoming mid-core titles, which are more AA games that aren't really that important and are a little bit smaller. In addition, Take-Two Interactive said that they do have 6 new iterations of existing games on the way, so that means new ports or remasters of already released titles. And finally, they did say that they have about 18 mobile games in development. So that means 17 AAA, 4 AA, 6 remasters, and then 18 mobile games. Now, this information was provided a few months ago before the layoffs, so this is the most up-to-date information that we know about the catalog at Take-Two Interactive, and based on what we know so far from these layoffs, the 18 mobile games at the end are likely the ones that are impacted the most. The 17 immersive core experiences, including GTA 6, are likely not going to be affected by these layoffs. Now, there has also been a lot of talk recently about Rockstar Games calling their employees back to the office. This is something that's been rumored over the past couple of months, but it did finally come into effect over the course of the past week. That means that all Rockstar employees, at least for the most part, are back in the office working on GTA 6. There has been some rumors about the game possibly being delayed, and that is why employees are being called back to the office. There's also been rumors about this being more of a security thing. Myself personally, I honestly think it's more of a combination of the two. I don't think that GTA 6 is delayed, but I do think that Rockstar wants to make sure that the game is releasing on time next year in 2025. And also, following all of these security issues at Rockstar Games over the past year, it also doesn't surprise me that they want to keep things a little bit more secure, and the best way to do that is to have employees working at the office.